Jazz is freedom. Jazz is, as Abby Lincoln would put it, a spirit. It's a music that is passed down soul to soul without words, but communicated by this extraordinary language in music. And jazz makes you jump. You have to jump off the edge.
Jazz is the polyrhythmic application of soul to life.
Jazz, as we know it, is gone.
Oh, it's the most wonderful music in the world. It's music that makes you feel things you don't even necessarily want to feel.
To me, jazz is you're willing to stick your neck out in the moment to find out something.
To me, jazz is like everything, the jazz era, with Louis Armstrong, and when he switched from cornet to trumpet, that's it, no more jazz.
Everybody's got something to say, but they're saying it in a different way, so what can you say? It's not all bad, I guess it's just the development of music.
Ran home from work every day just to play that chord. To bring new sounds into the world that have never been heard. What a joy.
I've sailed every wide blue ocean. I've climbed every snowy peak. I've crossed every earthly border. My only hope that I'd find you. The soft summer breeze is blowing. The full moon shines above.
I've made so many good friends here I can hardly stand it. Young and old, and all races. That's been the beautiful part about this whole thing, is that it's brought people together. Age, everything else don't matter. Because I have them from 2 years old up to 97, which is 1 year older than I am. So I've had a marvelous run. All I can say is that if the average person had to run like I had, it would be magnificent. We have a marvelous world. And thank America for being America. That's all I can say. Yeah, no.
Charles,
yes.
What is jazz music?
Well, I can't explain it because it's not explainable. It's a feeling. You either have it or you don't have it. See, Warren, either have it or you don't have it. That's how simple it is, It's a style which is typically American, okay? And now it's all over the world, so we just love it, okay?
It used to be that if a person wanted to learn and understand jazz, they kind of had to grow up
in the field.
In the field.
Well, in those days, years and years ago, it was necessary to survive because the competition was ferocious, But there are those that did survive and call it the greatest contribution America has ever made, which is jazz, and we all know that now. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
St. Louis. We broke a lot of hearts between. Saw a lot of gloomy girls who were doing alright until you hit the scene. Isn't that funny? Back then we had the hook, what was called the hook. And if you weren't singing in tune, honey, you came off the stage. They didn't let you stand on the stage and sing out of tune. They didn't let you play out of tune. They didn't let you get up there. If you didn't know what you were doing, they'd kick you off those drums in the middle of a tune and put another drummer up there. And that's how it was.
I could show the world how was mine. I could be glad all of the while. I could turn the gray skies to blue if I had you. Leave the old days behind. I'd leave all my past. Yes, I never mind. There is nothing I couldn't do if I had you.
I was in there and we were playing along and all of a sudden you hear this two guys fighting and then we heard this bam, bam, and someone shot a gun off twice in the club. And then you heard this and that was me. And the music stopped, everyone stopped, and then you hear this gentleman saying, "What are you looking at? Play the bass, motherfucker! Play the bass!" And I said, and you hear me going, "Play the bass, motherfucker! Play the bass!" And in the meantime, I'm behind the bass player. The bass player's behind his bass. The bass is behind the drums. We're all hiding because we're afraid of being shot. But that was a typical night. Back in the mid-70s, the mid-80s in Manhattan, it was dangerous. It was scary.
Jazz hits everyone differently. There's so many different kinds of jazz. As you say, improvisation is such a natural. I remember I played on a college soccer team where we were so good together that you just knew the moment the ball was coming towards you, you knew where the people around you were going to go before they even started going. It was a type of improvisation. We opened the wine coop. The first 5 or 6 years, it was doing great there for a while. We had a jazz club in the basement, the Jazz Works, and we did that for 5 years. We got to have dinner with McCoy Tyner 4 nights in a row. He came in for a long weekend. The late, great Joe Bonner. I had met a couple different places. And when he wasn't drinking and carrying on and doing drugs and living his wild life that he did, he was one of the greatest piano players I think that ever lived. And so we would hire him to come play lunch. Such a character, such a big heart, but no sense of boundaries, right? Just no sense of boundaries. And I think that experience really kind of gave us a jolt, just the culture of made the whole, our staff and everyone happy. I love the way jazz brought different people together. I think old, young, black, white, creative and not. It was just a wonderful kind of a way of mixing mixing people together in ways that normally wouldn't happen without that wonderful music.
Got my hair cut this week, can you tell? I did.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I got a couple inches taken off.
A couple inches?
Yeah.
What is jazz?
Whatever you define it to be.
What do you define it to
Ask me on the first break.
be? Okay.
I'll think about it.
Billy, what is jazz?
Well, to most people, it's whatever they think it is. To me, it's just an improvisation of soloing and playing standard songs. And Sonny Rollins, I had to know all the songs that they did. They didn't have the music to them. A lot of jazz musicians don't have the music, they just have the songs. They know the songs, and you have to know the song. That's what I started out with, standard songs, body and soul. Changes, but the changes don't change. You know the structure, the chords, be able to play in any key. It's a bit complicated, but not so complicated that it's not understandable. Business, even if you learn to read and everything, you're not always going to get a chance to read something because people are going to say, let's play this, and they expect you to know it. Played a lot of different songs. That's what kept me going.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze sweeping by, you know how I feel. With a new dawn, with a new day, with a new life for me, and I'm feeling good.
Jazz has always been the basis of all the music that's happened in America. You know, it's like classical music. You know, it's like Beethoven. You know, like it's to Europe. Jazz is that to America. You know, all the music that's come out of it, rap, rock and roll, has all come from jazz.
Shadows haunt me, madness wants me, kindness will not pay me handsome.
How about you forgetting your symbols?
Bass players meet some tenor player on the street. Say, hey man, I haven't seen you in a long time. Bass player says, tenor player. Says, how you doing? Tenor player says, you know, not too well. Bass player says, how come not too well? What's going on? He says, my wife left me. Oh man, I didn't hear about that. Man. He said, yeah, my kid went to college and he got a male roommate and they started making out together. Oh, Jesus, I didn't know about that, man. He said, not only that, I was in a session the other night, man, and I fucked up the bridge to Misty. I says, yeah, I heard about that.
I didn't expect to find any kind of
identity playing jazz, but oh man, Denver has been really, really good to me. I've been so moved by some players that I've played my ass off. I was so inspired. This calls me the area's premier female jazz pianist. At ease and in superb form in virtually any musical setting, as the Colorado International Women's Forum just acknowledged by accepting Rucker into its organization.
I was born in that area in 1931. I was born in Del Norte, Colorado, which is by the border of New Mexico. I remember the bread lines. You know, that period of time, the bread lines, man, in the 30s. People didn't have any money. My father used to work for the railroad, and he used to make $25 a month. How the hell did he live on that? Of course, everything was like bread was a penny. We used to buy beans. We used to live on beans, and we'd buy lard. You know, a lot of beans. We were Mexicans. We hardly ever ate no steak. Never ate steak. A lot of potatoes, beans, chili. And we grew up on that shit. Back in the 50s, I used to play at a club. It's a block away from the Peck. It's right on the corner, it's on 20th and Larimer. There's a parking lot there now. And there's a little Latin club. I used to play there. I had to work. No way in the world could I live and support my kids. So I got this job, working as an office manager. But we moved to LA in 1960, January of 1960. We did a lot of recording at the Lighthouse also. I met this one guy, his name is Tommy Peltier, who's the leader of this band. And we used to practice, endlessly. The guy at Pacific Jazz, Jack Tracy, set us up for recording with Russ Allen when Russ Allen was in town. We ended up playing with Russ at the Lighthouse. When I moved back to Denver, playing at the Peck, man, I met all these people that a lot of them I knew before. How I got the job was I used to play at a little club over there on West Colfax. There's me and Paul Warburton and a couple other guys. And Jerry had came in that day, one day, and he came up to me, asked me, he says, "Would you like to come and play at my club?" I says, "Where at?" At Chapultepec. And I said, and I'm saying to myself, "That's a dump." and I said, yeah, I'll do it, yeah. So that's how I started it. He didn't start music till the 80s. January of 1980. Gene Bass was one of the first to play at the Peck. He came before I did. jazz that we're talking about involves a lot of emotion. And that emotion, a lot of emotion comes from the rhythm that's involved in jazz. If you haven't been around it and haven't been listening to it, ain't nowhere where you can do it. Not a matter of race or color, you know. It's a matter of your relationship with your background and your culture. Then somebody the other day was saying, yes, I saw Mahalia Jackson. I saw Mahalia singing and so-and-so, so-and-so. Well, when I come along, it wasn't Mahalia, it was Mahalie. And Mahalie sang with Reverend Cobb's church. And talk about swinging. They had 11 o'clock services, and Reverend Cobb was called preacher. Little slick black dude, straight comb, smoked the big cigars, sat up at the Southern Lounge and watched all the jazz music and stuff. Went to the racetrack, done it. And Cobb's thing was, don't do as I do as I say do. And the church was here. Go through all the ushers were a little light in the pants, you know, and my mother took me, and Cobb would start off the organ, piano, maybe a trumpet player, and that's about it. And the rest of it's just the tambourine and stuff. And they'd start off, and I never will forget it because the organ player would start off, you know, I was young, you know, and they'd be saying, Jesus is the light of the world, Jesus. And they start off with that thing, they'd be smoking. And then he'd come on with his little poke cap, and he'd do his little soliloquy, you know, welcome to the church of so-and-so. We talk real quiet. I want you to know, each and every one of you know, that God loves you. Oh, he had his thing down. Con man, but meanwhile, in the background, the church was still light of the world, you know. And Mahalia was in the choir, and he would say, Cobb would always say, I want to say, God bless you to all my people, all my boys and girls out in the street, to all the cab drivers, and all those people that he didn't just disenfranchise. In other words, he made a fact to all his boys and girls. And he was a master. But my point being is that Mahalia Jackson was a singer in the choir. And once she started singing, it was over, you know. And those are the kind of things that make the jazz and jazz musicians.
What's an example of the jazz rhythms of your generation, this age?
I think a good example is the beat to Joshua Redman's Jazz Crimes.
What does your generation consider jazz? Does it have to have a swing beat to it?
I think it definitely doesn't have to have a swing beat. In fact, I think in a lot of ways the future of jazz is going to be more straight. And how in the 1930s and 40s swing and big band was the popular music. Now the popular music is very straight, like hip hop. So I think that jazz molds to fit the most popular type of music of the era. And right now that happens to be straight rhythm.
Can you give me an example?
I think Hiatus Coyote is a great example in terms of a band, Flying Lotus. And there is a type of swing, but it's not so much swing as it is unquantized rhythm. Like Jay Dilla in his album Donuts really shows that, where unquantized rhythm has a one-of-a-kind type of feel that I think more jazz artists like Flying Lotus and, you know, jazz drummers like Questlove are incorporating into their type of playing.
Like to play the songs that I love, and they're all weird. It's like each song has its own little personality, and there are some songs that I just love and other people are just appalled, you know, like a Britney Spears song or something like that, you know, that I might just go, oh my God, I love that song.
I did it again. I made you believe we were more than just friends. Oh baby, baby, it might seem like a crush, but it doesn't mean that I'm serious. But to lose all my senses, it's just so typically me. Oh baby, baby, oops, I did it again. I played with your heart, got lost in the game. Oh baby, baby, oops, you think I'm in love, sent from above, and I'm not that innocent.
Sometimes my band members aren't so excited about some of the covers that I choose, because I think there are, you know, stigmas associated with certain performers. Like Britney Spears is considered kind of bubblegum pop, even though I think the songs hold together, not all of them, but many of them. And so if they have a feeling like, you know, the song is cheesy or it's kind of beneath them, you know, and I play with a lot of really great jazz players. Most of them, and actually I'll say all of them, will play anything that I ask them to play. It's just privately later on, you know, some of them are just kind of like, oh, don't play that song again. You know, I think that when people are very educated in music and play a lot of jazz, then it's almost as though their skills are so great that to play something really simple, just like a 2-5-1 or a 1-4-5 progression over and over again, is almost like, you know, giving a border collie, you know, the simple command, you know, just fetch the ball, you know, the border collie is like, what? I could do a million more things than that. So I think that's kind of what it is, you know, is they're too simple, they're not stimulating enough.
Man, you're on film, great.
Yeah, man.
No, it's in between us. I say there, Dave, how do you do?
I'm doing quite well. It's cold out here, though.
Say hello.
It's cold out here. Get ready to take my ass inside. Come on, let's go inside. It's pretty dark here, and we're pretty dark brothers, so you gotta like tape that, make sure we get some light. Creighton blew out the candles, so we don't have any ambient light.
Oh, the summer wind came blowing in from across the sea.
Just all the class has left the scene. People don't want jazz, and even if they do, they want blue jean tank top jazz, you know.
You got a generation of people that dictate what should be out here, you know, and live music is not one of the things that they really think about, you know.
And they took him back in the alley and they tied him up.
That's right. That's right.
And then they turned on the buzzsaw. And then I lost you to the summer wind.
Starts at the top, so you're talking about people that are, you know, used to be into music and play music and experience that, and then they're running the record companies. Now you got corporate lawyers who go by spreadsheets and numbers, want to stamp everybody into a certain thing, you know.
Great big, the demographic is like very, very yuppie, and they're kids, and they have a different way of partying. You give them TVs, plants, and a brass rail, and they're happy. To them, jazz now and then is a little fad, but they'll go for anything. But they don't go out. You see a lot of them out, but it's not always the same ones, and they don't go where there's music. They go where there's TVs.
But still those days, those lonely days, go on and on. And guess who sighs his lullabies through nights that never end? My fickle friend, whoa, that summer wind. Lullabies through nights that never end. My fickle friend, whoa, that summer wind. Whoa, that summer wind. Oh, that summer wind. Thank you.
Oh
when I first started writing songs, my music was more oriented, I would say, in jazz. I sort of had like a jazz folk sort of mix to it. I'm sort of experimenting more. I play a lot of keyboard, and I'm experimenting with electric sounds and listening to a lot of soul music. So really, this record that I'm coming out with now is really like a soul R&B pop record.
Secret shadow, tell all you know, tell all you know.
Denver, I feel like the energy and like the vibe, for lack of a better word, is a little bit more like intimate and you can create sort of like this personal relationship with people a little bit easier than you can in New York. Meet him and to work with him, but Art Landy became like my mentor, and he's like, just amazing. And he really changed my life personally and musically, and I feel like I just learned so much from him in the short period of time that I was working with him, which was really just like the last couple of years that I was in Colorado.
I think most of us have to be kind of a little, strange in the head. I mean, really, to a certain degree, to want to even live this way. But you can't help yourself. it's not an easy life, but it's very satisfying, and it's a wonderful thing to sing and to know that you're communicating with someone on a different level, a level that's like no other.
It's just my personal ears. I don't care that much about a lot of notes or fast. I like a lot of meaning invested in like that, the pensive center that is intelligent. It's a mature human life who's seen a few things, who's feeling joy but sadness. And to me, that's what life's about. That life is sad and it's beautiful, and there's chords. To me, what I guess would be considered complex, I don't see that they're particularly complex. I mean, that fingering is not any harder than, and that's could be Simon & Garfunkel or jazz standard in a bar. You move it over one, and all this stuff is going on that to me sounds like a mature narrative from a writer. And the only way you get to that is not to be taught, like, these notes are smarter than these notes, but I think by reading novels, by traveling, by making friends, by listening to other people's point of view, you gradually get permission. Like, here's a chord I really like that I just found. I mean, it's got promises of going different places that don't get fulfilled and end up kind of dead and sour. And how many experiences as a perceptive human being come off like that, but we don't celebrate it in the song like we would that, which doesn't say very much of anything, or that, which has a lot. But once you get into one or more dissonances, one or more inner tensions, to me they're not just like minor second from a mathematical point of view. You've got the waves and they cancel each other out, or they double up the beat and all that kind of stuff. But to me it's more like sorry, this is not getting a very good sound of it. And I go, so you've got all that depth of emotion, but it's also funky. So a lot of these chords that are really cool are very simple fingering like that. You can add a little. I'm the observer as a musician. I consider my job not as an entertainer, but as an observer of stuff, and I paint my painting of what I see. Take that all into sound, and that's what I do. So right on the edge of meaninglessness and sound is really quite wonderful. I'll pick up an instrument, repurpose it, find a hole in the world and go crazy and be working, from 4 a.m, go to work all day, work till 3 a.m, and I get a little recorder and try to get the stuff down and create a new world of sound that I've never heard. And I've always felt that I need to get that down because I'm not a good enough jazz player to go out there and do standards and blow away the bazillions of great players. So I designed this many new voices to be played through this machine. So these are sounds that did not exist in it and don't exist anywhere else. So I'm trying to get voices that are playing with each other live while I'm playing them, so they interact. I found a CD in the garbage at work of people making notes for the next year of how they're going to change the services in their church. And I found that in the trash, and I cut it up with knives and recorded it, and it was completely skipping all over the place, and then it would stop. And I learned how, by tapping on the machine, how to tap it to get it to jump to various places. So the instrument became tapping the machine with a defective CD in it, but all voices. I look at a tree, it's total chaos. You look at most trees, it's just totally crazy. Mathematically, it's nuts. And we go, wow, this is so beautiful. I feel peace with nature. But then if you use mathematics and man's inventions, you build a ladder. And so which one is more beautiful? You're going to look at the ladder, or you're going to look at the tree. If you try to play the music that the tree is singing, no one will listen to you, but they will listen to if you play like a ladder. What we do with our potential and what we're capable of, I tend to not have a very high opinion of humans because of all the murders I've seen on TV, whether you want to or not. I mean, even if you don't have a TV, you're just kind of bombarded with death and horror and what we do to each other, because that's a good selling thing to have on the radio and all the media. It's too bad, because the real picture should have a much closer focus on all the wonderful superhuman things God makes us capable of doing.
The reality is, some even the very, very top professional musicians complaining that people don't go out to hear music anymore. They don't go to clubs anymore. They don't go to hear live music. I heard Esperanza Spalding say the other day on a national TV show that even people at her level are kind of scrambling to find jobs, to find gigs. And that's, of course, because of all the kinds of media things that we have, and turn on your TV or your computer, and it's all there. So why go out? So one of the things I think that's challenging is keeping live music happening for people who want to go out and hear live music. And so I think a lot of the orchestras across the country experience these kinds of challenges as well, and they're all coming up with new strategies to publicize to the millennials, to the various. Because you walk into a symphony orchestra, and guess what? A lot of the people who are attending are gray-haired folks like me, the seniors who have time and the money to go. And so I'm hopeful that, that some of this might change a bit in terms of live performance, and a performance like this one coming up with the Jefferson Symphony and the Ultraphonic Jazz Orchestra, being outside, being free, being in the park.
Jazz, it's always been, you follow the form. Everyone follows the form, and so no one's ever lost. So you always know where you are. However, you move out and you can go anywhere you want within that form and express anything you want. You can try any note. You can actually go for the song you hear in your head.
This is Butters. Say hi, Butters. Yeah. We all have our own melody. And that to me is kind of the key. That's what I've been going for my whole life. Not only do you need to have courage to do that, you have to have technique. You have to be able to hear your melody, Stop all the chatter, Listen to where do you want to go with it? What do you hear with the music? All true great jazz musicians have found that, their own voice.
Got it? See, that came out really well, I thought. It was stupid. It's singable.
I grew up in a time where, I didn't hear things like world music, or I hadn't heard the word genre of music. I remember, when Motown came on the scene, and here in Denver, Colorado, when KDKO came on the scene, and they were playing, predominantly black music. So now I'm listening to artists like Barbra Streisand, and then I hear someone like Gladys Knight do a take on a Barbra Streisand tune, or Barbra Streisand now doing a take on a Stevie Wonder tune, or Ella Fitzgerald singing Beatles music, or Wayne Shorter in the jazz realm, bringing forth all these great Brazilian musicians, Dizzy Gillespie, Cuban musicians. So, the times that I grew up, the music became very experimental. And we had a small but very warm and supportive jazz community here. In high school, I performed all the time. I used to work at a club called The Warehouse. And the way that I got the gig was I would go on Sundays, because Gene Harris had decided to make his home here in Denver for a minute. So I could go and do the jam sessions, and then the club owner liked me and said, "Would you like a gig here?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm in high school." So he talked to my parents, and my sister, who was 10 years older than me, and my aunt, and my mother and my father. They would be my chaperones. And then upstairs were the big acts. It was so incredible. I actually saw Ike and Tina Turner live there. I saw Mongo Santa Maria there. I saw Les McCann and Ella Fitzgerald. And when I saw Ella, that was just like everything. And Nancy Wilson came. Country music acts, all kind of things. So between shows, they would come down and hang out in the tool shed. So it was really, a very, very open, loving, and supportive atmosphere here growing up.
Started out playing, there were more people around who had been around from the beginning. When I started coming up, like Earl Hines my parents went to go see Earl Father Hines play, and who played with Louis Armstrong, who played with King Oliver, who knew Buddy Bolden, like that whole thing. And so now there's less of that kind of connection back to the whole of the music. This kind of Western thing, open kind of space thing that people talk about, I think it really does have something to do with it too. I think it shows up in a lot of the music that's coming out of here. Yeah, the sense of being in a very short time, being out of town, being in the mountains in like 20 minutes. You're like out there, and that I think is one of the really great things about here that I hear in the kind of generation of musicians who come up after us. Isn't that crazy that people are still doing $50 and $75 gigs? And part of it is the fact that business people are business people, and they know how to make money, and they know that we love to play music. And in the end, they know that giving us a chance to present our music and play music will do it for something that somebody else. I mean, you would never go to a doctor and say, hey, could you do this for $50? It's like, well, no, actually not. But you can approach a musician that way, and we'll be like, yeah, actually, I will do it for that because I love the music so much.
Is always something which is completely sociologically tied down to economic status and all these different metrics, and every age has a different thing that they have to deal with, the young musicians coming up. I played in a lot of bands, not jazz bands, but like R&B and blues and rockabilly bands, and I got stomped on by a lot of guys a lot older than me. And then I was a street musician, and I got stomped on by a lot of guys a lot older than me. And it hurt, but it's the way you get better in that kind of way. And I think that the younger people coming up, they don't have the benefit of that anymore. Basically, the economically elite can afford to go to the jazz schools, and then they can afford to get no work somehow once they get out of the jazz schools. A lot of it also has to do with the fact that most of the people who are coming out of those schools, their worldview is that they're playing music for each other, basically, and kind of jazz educated, very extremely educated, to the point where, they can technically play circles around me with compound odd meters and all of these crazy things that they're doing, but is the music reaching a community, a larger community outside the educational community? And it really isn't, because there's no larger community aspect of that music. It's made specifically to appeal to musicians. Other musicians, there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a sin. But I'm just saying that's also how if you don't have some external community component of your music, whether it be, the dance band, Duke Ellington's band, it was a dance band, I'm sorry, but that was a big part of it. Or, Louis Armstrong's music, all these things had a big social component outside of the people just playing the music. And if that doesn't happen, then the music just becomes an exclusive domain of education. And then education is pretty much an exclusive domain of wealth, especially these days where there's not as many scholarships for people. It's essentially the only people who can afford to play jazz are wealthy people. And that's where it's going.
Interpretation of musical expression. Can you dig it? It has no past, no present, no future. It's just what is now. So how can we give a definition to jazz when we have the past, present, and future. It's hard to do, man. So we kind of have to put it in another expression, and kind of reflects my mood right now too, right? And like that, man. You know, maybe I can show how I start that. Okay, I'm gonna put a little device on here and give me a little background track. Okay, and let me just start with 2 or 3 notes. Okay. Just an impersonation of one of my favorite guitar players. The emotional part connects me with joy, excitement, okay? Grandeur, what's behind this? Why these notes don't work, how can I make them work a little better, okay? If I really want to be an explorer, and sometimes it's like pushing a triangle through a circle hole. You know what I'm saying? You know, you had these little toys as a kid with a little hammer, and you hammer the shapes into the proper shapes of the hole. Sometimes you would have a wrong shape that wouldn't go, so it would never go in the hole. It's kind of like what I'm doing here sometimes. You know, if it doesn't work well enough, I'll either give up or get a chainsaw and make the hole bigger and make it fit. Huh? Well, let me talk to the band. You got any money on you? Got any cash?
I left it in the car.
All right, I'll tell them. Let me talk to these guys here. Hey, 1 chord, okay? You guys got 1 chord. Okay, I'm gonna have to turn you guys on. I think you're back from Starbucks. Oh yeah, they're ready to play. They're ready to be played with. What key are they on, huh? Ben, what key is that in? Okay. Well, we're in F. Okay, guys, cool. Let's go take a break. All right, man. So I was in F7 there, okay? It's having fun. Kind of bluesy, boogaloo, kind of real 60s vibe. And then I just took it a little bit. I kind of started going into some other chord changes. I didn't let 1 chord get in my way, okay? And that's the kind of the beauty about the art, about heavy improvisation, especially when you put the word jazz in it, okay? There's a big responsibility in there to know past, present, future.
And I could easily have left my wife and kids on their own and just try to keep struggling. Look how many jazz musicians do you know that are successful, that have anything? Not too many. Not too many. Or else they marry somebody that has something. It's not an easy field. It's not an easy field. And it's not lucrative at all. We're lucky if we make 100 a night. That's it. I pay the guys Each guy gets $75 plus tips. We end up $100.
Do you even consider music as a career choice?
I do. Or at least I really hope it is. I guess it's very difficult. And that's frightening to someone who's growing up and who loves music so much. But it's so enticing I can't refuse to give it a shot.
My big advice was don't do it. It's too ferocious now. You really can't make a living at it because of the competition is unreal. You know, they expect you to play like like high pitch on the bass, and that is not the way it goes. You know, so like I said, well, my big explanation was don't do it. Love you madly, but get you a profession where you can put beans on the table and love old Mabel. Thank you.
Remember this. Success and talent rarely go together. They rarely go together. So that's the truth of the matter, is that you may not get stinking rich and, you know, live the way you'd love to, but you have your music, and that fills a void that, for me, I don't know that anything else could, you know.
I just wonder, like, what's going to happen with all these young people that are graduating from college, jazz musicians. Where are they going to play? You know, as a matter of fact, where are a lot of bands going to be playing, because they use DJs now. There's very few clubs that use live bands. They use DJs. It's the era of the DJ.
Now with, you know, Spotify and all these kind of rip-off, .com and tech companies that really marginalize the value of creative assets, songs. Most really good musicians make most of their money now from touring. They're on the road all the time, which, you know, it's interesting. I had a friend of ours who tours, 150 days a year. And is, very successful, has a good income now. And on one hand, you get so good when you play that often, you learn your instrument, right? And your improvisation, your ability to go to another level goes up at a certain point after a certain number of years. But also, it's hard on your life. It's hard on your family. It's like being a traveling salesman, which when I was growing up, that was the legendary, toughest, worst job ever, was to always be on the road trying to sell stuff. Well, in a funny way, obviously, being a musician is much better than, being a salesman and creative and be with cooler people. And I think it's much more rewarding when you're on, when you get that blowback from the fans. I got to play one time at Red Rocks to a sold-out concert and sing a verse with this band, Old Crow Medicine Show. And when the crowd cheers and roars at you, it is different than just about any other sensation you can have in life. And that's great, and getting that applause has got to be a big thing, but still, it's good to have a family, and it's good to be able to have a regular life.
What's your secret to longevity in the music business?
I don't know. I just love it. I still follow. I go out and listen to people. I listen to different groups. I've always listened to them. I've played with a lot of different bands with different genres, and that's kept me alive. Another thing that's really important is I don't smoke cigarettes. And my lungs and my heart are really good. Yeah, that's really helped me a lot. I still smoke a little weed. I can't smoke too much because it hurts my throat. I do a little bit of cocaine every now and then, but I don't go crazy with it, you know. So that's kind of my story.
Moderation.
Moderation, man. Moderation, that's a good word.
What direction is jazz going to go in? How is jazz going to change?
It's not going to change. It's almost gone as far as it's going, but probably go back to the fundamentals where it was just pure jazz, where people danced to it and could sing and hum melodies to these things. And that's how simple that is. Okay.
Well, I think the future is always in songs and bands. It's always been that way. I think history books, like I teach a jazz history class, history books is like the simplistic route that it's one person, that's Charlie Parker, or that it's Miles Davis. It's not. It's always bands. It's always been bands, and it's always been songs. And as long as people are writing songs and getting together and exchanging ideas, then that's going to be the way it keeps moving forward, you know.
It's a song that I wrote called Testify, because I wrote that song many years ago in the late 90s, and it still holds true today. And, you know, it says sometimes you won't understand why life is the way it is. Things don't always go the way you planned them. But I believe that God and time are synonymous, and through time, God reveals all things. So you have to be still, pay attention. And that it's all about testifying about my life, because, you know, it's like a cycle. You learn something and then you find yourself in another place. And then you learn something, you find yourself in another place. And for me, that song still, the lyrics of it still hold true.
Do you feel like singing the melody a little bit? How the lyrics go?
He goes, sometimes you won't understand why life is the way it is. Things don't always go the way you plan them. But I believe God and time are synonymous, and through time, God reveals all things. So you gotta be still, stand in love, and pay attention. You see, I just wanna testify. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just gotta testify.
I don't know how to preface this, but just a matter of being yourself and treating other people as you would like to be treated. Don't have any racism, and enjoy each day like it's the last day, because it might be. Okay? That's about it.
you and me are compulsive. You and me is, 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 you and me is impulsive. Talk about it. 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 Talk about it all night long. You got a Facebook, me, text, Twitter, and blog. You got a Facebook, me, text, Twitter, and blog. You got a Facebook, me, text, Twitter, and blog. Now I know all about you. Turn it off. Run away. Come and play.